So these are the replacement seat backs that I have in my 4Runner. I took out the rear seats and I use this area kind of storage for various parts and tools and things like that. So a lot of what's down here I want to put in that storage area that I created over the rear wheel well and kind of clean this out because this is a lot easier to get to. Anyway, one of the things I've been wanting to do for a long time is I need some way to hold these seat backs down, because if the truck were to roll over, there's nothing stopping this from flopping up, and then all the stuff that's underneath there is going to go flying. One of the things I'm going to do is I picked up a hold down bracket for my ARB fridge, and that's going to go on the driver's side rear seat back. So like I say, I can hold the fridge down, but if the fridge is on a hinged panel, you know, it's not going to stay down. So I need some way to hold that half down and some way to hold this half down. Anyway, while I was at the hardware store picking up the hardware for that little access door, I was looking around, and what I found was one of these. It's called a Latch post hasp, and then it's got one of these rotating locks on it, and you can actually put a lock. It's got a padlock hole in the middle of the handle. You drop the hasp down and then you can turn that and it keeps it latched. I kind of like this one because there's no separate latch pin or anything that you got to put in there. So I was wondering how I was going to get this attached here. This is kind of the rear footwell, and these bolts here, there's a couple of bolts that held the original seat bottom hinges. So the idea was you could fold the rear seat bottom up, and then you could fold the rear seat back down. But then if you did that, this whole area here was full of seat, and you didn't have any room. So I've kind of taken this over. I have a toolbox. You can see the imprint of the toolbox sitting in there. Yeah, I was thinking I could maybe screw this locking mechanism in here, but then when I got to looking, I've still got the factory bolts in there. And what I did was I took this locking piece, I had a scrap of 1/8 by 2-inch steel, and I kind of cut it on a diagonal like that. Put a hole down in the bottom, and I should be able to mount that down about there. And then once I get that mounted, then I'll put this here, and I can slide this up and down. I want to be able to push this down tight. Okay, I think that's going to work. I just need to figure out where to mount this. I think I want to put it up as high as I can so that the bottom is tight, just to keep, kind of keep this thing compressed down into the carpet. So this side isn't too bad. The other side, I don't know if the plywood is warped or something, because the other side, if you look over there, you can see there's a bit of a gap on that side, so I've got to push that down. Yeah, I got both latches installed here on the seat backs. Yeah, so this one here, the seat back here, sticks out a little bit farther. I'm not sure if I cut it wrong or the hinges are mounted different, but anyway, this face here is a little bit farther out from the sheet metal down here. So what I did, I added an extra washer, and then I also gave this thing a little bit of a bend because the hasp part has to bend in a ways. And then this one, it's also twisted a little bit. I think the plywood must be warped, or there's something underneath. I don't know. Once I have the fridge on here, it'll be pushed down, but I've got it so if I, yeah, there we go. It catches on the bottom there, and then I can turn that. Goes in there nice, uses the factory seat hinge bolt, and then just 3 screws into the wood of the seat back replacement, and yeah, Once I've got the fridge on here, it's heavy enough, it's going to push it down. And at that point, I can always loosen this nut and then rotate this fixed piece down a little bit to make it a little bit tighter. But yeah, that'll work for now. And then once I get the fridge bracket in there and get the fridge mounted, that should be good to go. So yeah, I'll put links in the video description to those parts if you're making something like this, a rear seat back replacement or a rear seat delete kit, whatever you want to call it. Makes for a nicer bed back here, because otherwise you only have about a 4-foot long bed in these 4Runners. But if you get rid of the rear seats, you pick up almost another 2 feet. If you come up to about here, you've got over 6 feet of bed. So you probably get, I don't know, 5.5 feet with the factory bed. It's not quite like a pickup. You don't have a full 8-foot bed by any means. So yeah, these things are a little on the small side, but I'm trying to make use of as much storage space and everything as I can. So yeah, thought I'd show you the finished seat backs. Yeah, if you have any questions, post up in the comments section below. And as always, thanks for watching.